Welcome to the Murphy, Sam, and Jodi After the Show podcast. Thank you for hanging out a little bit longer with us. And if you've just kind of tripped across the podcast here, be sure to subscribe. That way you'll get it delivered every day along with the regular show that we do every day.
Guess what has happened in the time, Sam, that we told you earlier that, hey, Murphy and I are going to lunch today. When I asked you to take me to lunch today for our special day, 25 years.
25 years of wedded bliss.
Anyway.
It is awesome, though. I mean, honestly, when you stop and think about it, it's a what is it about that number that jumps out? It was 24 last year, but
it's
a
lot.
It's a milestone. It's a quarter of a century.
Yeah.
It's a milestone.
Sounds bigger when you say quarter of a century.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Look, I had the same thing when we had our 20th. I say that. I didn't even really share it with you, that it was a moment for me in my life. I'm like, have I ever done anything else for 20 years?
Yeah.
Has anything ever had that milestone attached to it, especially such a personal relationship? And realistically, you know, marriage is a hard road. There are ups and downs. And so that's another reason it's a milestone. Everybody wants to and it's a celebratory thing for sure. And there has been a lot of laughs and love, but there have been difficult days too. I think that's one reason why it's remarkable.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was explaining that to somebody the other day, that it's not a straight line. It literally is. No. It's ups and downs all the way.
In a marriage, you will hit places where if you were just dating, you'd have broken up. But because you have the
connection,
you made the vows, you know, you have the family and the children, and
lawyers are expensive.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you know that, Sam.
But anyway, I bring it back up not to go so deep about marriage, but just how do you like the fact that I asked Murphy for let's go to lunch today, and he's already dropped me the news that he can't do lunch today.
Oh.
Look, if it were any other day, you know what? And it is. But you know the reason for that. It's
meetings,
one of the right. It's a.
I've been married to you for 25 years.
You know what? And that actually is a perfect example of how being married and working together can be stressful at moments because you know the work part of things. Maybe it's kind of a blessing too because you actually understand that it's not me. You know, just giving you a line. I'm sorry, Jodi. I'm
stuck at the office again.
I'm not going to be home.
No, I am stuck at the office.
Right.
Yeah. Definitely. I know when you say you have this, I know it because I know the backstory of your schedule.
Yeah.
It's not just a line you're giving me. I know.
Yeah. Although I really would prefer to have lunch with you today. And you know the thing is,
we are going to have dinner. Instead.
It is funny because we are in this same room together, the four of us, really, with producer Faith. For what? It's about 8 hours a day that we want to be in the same, you know, together in this room. And you know, clearly I don't get enough of you. So, you know.
How about we do this?
But seriously, I do. But the lunch is different because that's like different headspace, different. That's just me and you.
It is a completely different headspace because it's just the two of us. And you understand, we all know how dynamics change. You take one person out of an equation and dynamics change.
Yeah.
You know? And put Sam in and the dynamics change.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
You change. When it's just you and me early in the morning, Sam, before Murphy arrives, you're different too. You're different for him. Dynamics change.
Yeah. Chemistry.
So definitely.
He gets the jokes.
Maybe he wants the jokes.
Well, it's a good thing this is not your anniversary. Huh?
Not to say. Anyway.
Let me ask this, and this is probably one of those, I can't answer that. But is there a time period or a year or era that's like your favorite part of the marriage?
I think I can't speak for Murphy.
Well, I know what Murphy's going to say.
I do know what Murphy's going to say too.
What? I mean,
the kids were little.
It's really hard to pick a specific moment
because every day is a great day.
See?
Okay. Again, let's be realistic.
Yeah. No.
Every day's not a great day, but we still choose it. We still choose this.
It feels like there have been more, you know, great moments than rough ones. What's weird is the rough ones are the ones that you can kind of, you know, stick out. And there have been, I mean, there have been some really rough patches along the way.
Yes, there have.
Yeah, right. But, you know, I forgive you.
Like now.
It's funny you say that. They say that's the I was going to post about it.
I think we have forgiven each other for things. You really, you can't.
You cannot survive a marriage without forgiving each other.
Yeah, you have to get past those things. And look, I get it that some people can't get through those.
And that's up to you.
For various reasons, for whatever those various reasons are. But yes, you're right.
Yes.
At some point,
forgiveness is a part of success.
If you really do want to stay together, some of the arguing needs to be, you need to remember that you're both on the same team. You're actually fighting for the same thing, even when it doesn't feel like it. Right?
Correct.
So.
I will say that I think that it's probably very typical, but there were some really fun, cool moments in the early part of our marriage that priceless. I didn't realize how priceless until the years had passed, how priceless it was to bring Taylor home from the hospital for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
Or to introduce Phoebe to Taylor. Mm-hmm. And that all happened because of us.
Yes.
Right. Because of our, they've gone on and we might not even see them for days, but there is still us.
Yeah.
And so I do have some favorite moments in the beginning of our marriage, but I will say that also
nothing recently.
Also at the beginning of our marriage, no, I do have a recent one too. At the beginning of our marriage, there was also something that happens to a lot of couples, and that was a power struggle. That is something that I don't know that people talk about much, but in the first few years, 2-3 years of a marriage, you hit this point where you're like, okay, honeymoon phase is over, real life is setting in. Are you really going to dig your heels in about the garbage? Are you really going to dig your heels in about work schedule or vacation or mother-in-laws or whatever it is? There are power struggles. You don't know they're going to come, but they come.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And how well do you fare in that? We were lucky because you and I are very
determined,
evenly matched when it comes to digging our heels in about things. Mm-hmm. So we've had to have some very grown-up conversations.
Yeah, and I mean, you're assertive, and you're an independent thinker, and I guess
and
early
so
on, and I am, and so we kind of clashed on that in the very beginning.
Power struggles.
Yeah, and you don't think of it as that, but I guess yes, that's the case. And then once you get that part out of your system and actually understand, again, it's the same thing. You're really on the same team. The other part of that, I think, also is actually taking the time to get to know the other person instead of asserting your will. And it's weird. I think that's a youth thing going into that. I mean, for me,
sure.
I tell you, it's in my 20s, whenever you and I started dating, that and it wasn't about controlling you. It was about me just in general. I was a lot more.
I didn't know that.
I was a lot more me focused, I think, than I even realized. And once you start to understand that, and that's really any relationship, if you're only asserting your part of things and you're only communicating the things about how it feels to you and you're not considering the other person, any relationship is going to struggle.
Yeah.
So
you're gonna butt heads.
Right.
To answer your question, has there been any?
Did you call him a butthead?
No, you.
That's what I heard.
No. You had asked, has there been any recent time that would be a favorite? Yeah. Absolutely. I loved our 1 year that we had of empty nest.
Yeah.
I do love having Taylor back in our home. She's a delight. And I do. A friend of mine just asked me that the other day. Do you love having her home? And I'm like, yeah, it's sweet.
Yeah.
It's a new day. It's a different way to have her here. Mm-hmm. But when I tell you the quiet and coming home and just two people to cook for, and there was something new, I know we struggled with it at first because the quiet was weird at first after having kids in the house so often, and they always had friends over, and there was always. I really enjoyed that time, and so it's been adjustment back and forth, and I know we'll get there again.
Yeah,
someday.
Yeah.
And we'll have to be sad again at first.
That one feels that way because you're so used to, you commit your entire life is only about your kids at that point, and so when they're gone again, you go through that phase of, oh no, this is weird.
Well, they say not to do that. Don't make your life all about the kids.
And then you begin to understand, okay, so you kind of have a feeling of independence again and balance and those sorts of things. Mm-hmm. And look, all those things are, they're all good things. Just because they're stressful doesn't mean that they're bad. But because you and I had developed a pretty good routine of kind of decompressing after work or whatever. And the weekends, we just go pick up and do whatever we wanted to do.
Yes.
It was nice not to have a structure. I mean, we still don't, for the most part, on weekends have, a structure. There's at least one day that we pick that doesn't have deadlines and things to do and all that
There's
kind
no
of stuff,
should
so that
in
we
that
can
day.
go. We can
I should
enjoy.
be doing this, or I should be doing that.
Yeah.
We try to make it just a day.
Yeah.
Of whatever feels nice. But anyway, we are going to dinner tonight, as long as you don't have a meeting or something.
No, I'm looking forward to that actually, and I really do still enjoy. Sam's going to think I'm being cheesy here, but it's true. I enjoy my time with Jodi because at the end of the day, before I love Jodi, I like Jodi a lot, and for all of that,
You never said that.
And so just from a friendship standpoint, there's nobody that I trust more, and that's very freeing because trust is. I don't want to say unfortunately, it's difficult for a lot of people to do. To fully enjoy a relationship, you've got to trust.
Mm-hmm.
That's the risk, unfortunately, the emotional component and all that kind of stuff, because if you don't, then you're really not going to enjoy that part fully.
It's not full. Right.
And so, you as a person is somebody that I enjoy being around. You as a professional is somebody I certainly enjoy being around too. And that's sort of like a double benefit. And it's nice to be in this place after, years of, because it's had, moments. Sam's actually seen, I think, some of those moments over time.
It's been a living, what?
Yeah, he has seen, days where we walked into this room and the only time that Jodi and I spoke to each other is if the microphones were on, and then there was no talking afterwards.
Yeah.
And then
God, those are the days where I would have what am I doing?
Yeah.
Why am I doing this? But I love this as much, not as much, but I love this. It's a huge part of my life, and I feel like I belong here.
Yeah.
So there's that whole I don't want to pick one or the other.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to do that.
But if you had to.
I don't have to.
Yeah, good luck with that one, Sam.
Don't put me in that corner.
Right. But, and so, I guess we should thank you for putting up with some of that over time, too.
We should.
Yeah.
I know it's not been fun sometimes.
Yeah. The three of us have been together long enough now that we've seen all sorts of relationship changes and, all of Sam's, changes through the years and all that kind of stuff. And I guess once you've experienced the highs and lows, maybe you just understand that, maybe you understand the things better that are worth worrying about or digging in on, like you were saying earlier, and the things that just aren't worth it. It's just like, why would I dig in on that if it doesn't make a difference, if it really doesn't, change the outcome? Maybe that's what I think is the best part about where you and I are 25 years later, is we'll get into an argument on something, and I think both of us will realize at the same time,
okay, let it diffuse.
This is pointless, right? Why? Next, right.
Yeah, and that's lovely. Most of the time that works out at the same time, Murphy. Not always. Like that recent thing that you sent me with the owl, like you sent me a picture of an owl and it said, "Who's sorry I am," and you apologized. I wasn't ready to see that.
Oh, I know that. Yeah.
I was still like, oh, I think I took my phone and threw it down when I got that.
Yeah, right.
But, now a lot of times things do fizzle back down, which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the power struggle thing is not expected, but then when you think about it, if you take yourself out of it, if you're not thinking about your own relationship or marriage, think when you fall in love with somebody, they're on a pedestal. It's that high.
Yeah.
But then when you get married and you say those and you say those vows and you start a life together, real life kicks in pretty quickly. And that is when you naturally go back to yourself. Like when you have these little arguments, you naturally dig in because you are a separate person too.
Yeah.
So you have to, that person is not on a pedestal anymore. You've chosen to be with them, but they're not on a pedestal anymore. So real life sort of brings it back and you kind of have to fight for yourself. I think that's why power struggles happen.
Well, you're still on a pedestal.
Okay.
But,
There we go.
Seriously.
He knows how to wrap up a convo, huh?
Mm-hmm. You're right about that. But it takes that emotion at the beginning to create that connection, that electric charge or whatever. That's human nature. I think that's the way it's designed to be.
It's the high.
It's the fact that once that part wears off, if you still have the expectation that every day is going to feel like that, that's going to become disappointing because that's not realistic. And that's really where you learn that love is an action and the things that you do as much as everything else. It's certainly probably one of the greatest gifts we have on the planet. It's not just romantic love, but the love
All
of
love.
friends, the love of pets, the love of nature, the love of anything. But you know, in a relationship, your action is directly going to control how the other person reacts and vice versa. And that's probably the biggest thing I've had to work on over the years, is because I'm an expressive person by nature. I think that in most cases it's an asset and not a liability for me, but it's worked against me when I feel that my voice has to be heard at all cost, which is not smart. You know what I mean? And that created a lot of headbutting, I think, at the beginning. And so trying to catch yourself in a moment where, again, you're questioning, is this really worth it? And there are some things that definitely are worth digging in and, you know, completely resolving and talking through, and they're not always going to heal fast. But then there are plenty of little things that all they're going to serve is to just frustrate somebody. And then why waste time on that? Mm-hmm. Maybe that's the benefit of also being able to look back, as you realize, okay, with so much history now, you don't want to trivialize that by getting lost in things that are just
trivial,
right?
That's
Exactly. Yeah. So happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
So I'm sorry about the lunch thing, but
I know.
Would you like to have dinner with me?
I will. I would.
Missed any part of the show? Get it all on the Murphy, Sam, and Jodi podcast.